Have you ever wondered whether the world around you exists the same way when you're not there to see it? When your eyes close at night, does the chair in your room still sit quietly in the dark? Does the sky still shine blue when no one is looking up? Does the forest still whisper when no ear listens to its breath? At first, these sound like riddles from an old philosopher, questions to stir the imagination, but not to be answered. And yet, these very questions lie at the heart of one of the strangest truths in science, a truth so unsettling, so profound, that even the greatest minds of physics have been humbled by it. This is the truth. The act of observation can change reality itself. Not in some mystical storybook way, but in experiments that can be repeated, tested, verified. Experiments where matter behaves one way in the shadows and another way when the light of attention is cast upon it. Tonight, you and I are stepping into that mystery. Not by solving equations, not by reading from a textbook, but by entering a story. A story of a seeker who carries both the mind of a scientist and the heart of a mystic. Her name is Elena. On this midnight, Elena sits alone in her laboratory. Outside, the city has grown silent. Windows are dark, streets empty. But inside this room, the air hums with quiet electricity, as though the universe itself is waiting. Elena rests her hands on the desk, her eyes on the experiment before her. It is simple in its design, almost childlike. A barrier with two narrow slits, a screen beyond it, and a device ready to fire tiny particles one by one. Electrons, the building blocks of matter, invisible specks carrying the secrets of reality. She has performed this experiment countless times. She knows what she is about to see, and yet each repetition feels like opening a sacred book, as if the pages rearrange themselves depending on who reads them. She flips a switch. The machine ticks softly. One by one, the electrons fire, and as they pass through the barrier, something strange occurs. If no one looks to see which slit each particle travels through, the electrons behave like waves. They spread out, pass through both openings at once, and weave together into patterns of light and shadow. An interference pattern, like ripples overlapping on the surface of a pond. But when a detector is placed at the slits, when the path is measured, the pattern vanishes. The wave collapses. The electron behaves like a solid particle, choosing one slit, one path, as though forced to make a decision under watchful eyes. Elena watches the glowing screen. To her, these stripes of light and darkness are more than data. They are whispers from the universe itself. She has spent years trying to understand them, and years realizing that no one truly can. Physicists will tell you, this is not magic. It is not consciousness alone that makes the difference. Even a mindless detector, a machine with no thoughts, is enough to collapse the wave into a particle. The observer, they say, need not be human. Measurement is what matters. And yet, Elena cannot let go of the deeper question. Why should the act of measuring, of simply looking, change the very nature of reality? Why should the unseen world exist in a haze of possibilities, until the moment it is witnessed? She closes her eyes for a breath, and images rise in her memory. Moments from her own life, when fear made obstacles grow larger, darker, more impossible. As if the simple act of expecting failure had shaped the world around her. And moments when hope illuminated a hidden path forward, as if by daring to believe, she had carved a road where none existed. Could it be, she wonders, that life itself obeys an observer effect? That the way we look upon the world changes, what the world reveals in return. Her gaze returns to the screen. Electrons appear, one after another, small sparks leaving their trace. Slowly, the interference pattern emerges. Bright. Dark. Bright. A rhythm. a secret language. Elena feels her breath sinking with the pattern. Each particle seems to carry a question. Each strike on the screen is like a knock at the door of her mind. The lab grows still. The tick of the machine fades into silence. The room itself feels transformed. No longer only steel and glass, it is now a threshold, a place where the veil between matter and meaning grows thin. She whispers to herself, barely audible, "If watching can change an electron, what does watching do to the path of a life?" The words hang in the air, not an answer, not even a question, but an invitation. And so, as another particle fires, as another decision is made by the unseen, Elena leans closer. Her body is still. Her mind is open. Her attention unwavering. For she knows with a kind of reverence that tonight is not only about physics, it is about the power of looking, the power of attention, the quiet possibility that the universe is listening back. And so Chapter 1 begins, with a woman, a screen, and the most mysterious experiment of them all. Silence deepens in the midnight lab. The faint hum of machines feels like the breath of some hidden presence. Elena closes her eyes. Her body rests, but her awareness sharpens. It is as though she is listening for something more subtle than sound, watching for something more elusive than light. The screen glows faintly behind her eyelids. She knows the pattern is still forming, waves colliding into stripes of brightness and shadow. And yet, in her mind, the pattern is no longer confined to the apparatus. It begins to spill outward, as if the air itself is vibrating with possibilities. Her breath slows, deeper, slower. Each inhale feels like it draws her into the heart of the mystery. Each exhale feels like it dissolves the walls of the lab. And then, it happens. She is no longer seated in her chair. She is standing. Not in the room she knows, but in a vast and silent expanse, lit by a strange, otherworldly glow. The laboratory is gone. The desk, the wires, the instruments. All vanished. Around her drifts a sea of luminous fog, shimmering with faint colors, as though light itself has loosened into mist. It moves and curls like waves of probability, rising and falling without form, waiting to be touched, waiting to become. Elena takes a step forward. Her foot does not strike the floor. Instead, the fog ripples outward as if she is walking, on the surface of possibility itself. Each movement creates gentle vibrations, patterns that shimmer and then fade. She feels no fear, only wonder. This is not a dream. It is not imagination. It is the quantum realm, the world behind the curtain, where matter is not yet matter, but pure potential. She gazes into the fog. Shapes seem to hover at the edges of her vision. A curve here, a glimmer there, as if unfinished sketches of reality are drifting before her eyes. They shift and dissolve, like half-formed memories, events waiting to decide whether to be born. Shuang whispers softly, "Waves of possibility. Are you what we are made of?" As her attention lingers, one of the shapes responds. A faint outline strengthens. First a line, then a curve, then something more recognizable. Her gaze, steady and intent, draws it into form. Before her, what was once only haze now becomes clear. A doorway, carved of light. It stands tall and silent, waiting for her to step through. Elena takes a breath, and in that breath she realizes, attention is not passive. To look is to invite. To focus is to shape. And in this realm of endless becoming, the observer does not merely watch. The observer participates. She places a hand upon the glowing threshold. The fog ripples outward in all directions, as though the universe itself acknowledges her touch. And as she steps across, she understands that she has crossed more than space. She has crossed into the fabric of reality itself, where possibility awaits the gaze that will bring it into being. Her journey into the quantum realm has begun. Elena walks forward, her footsteps light upon the luminous mist. Around her, probability shimmers, a living ocean of choices not yet made. The fog parts to reveal a narrow trail of light. It stretches ahead, but not all of it is visible. Some sections shine clear and solid, while others blur and fade into uncertainty, like words half erased from a page. She realizes that the path itself responds to her. When her mind steadies, when her breath softens, the road ahead grows brighter. But when doubt rises in her chest, when fear whispers, the path dims, disappearing into shadow. She pauses. A memory comes to her. A time in her youth when she stood before a challenge terrified of failing. She remembers how the fear itself clouded her vision, making the obstacle seem larger, the way ahead darker. And she remembers another time, when she chose to believe, when a flicker of hope lit the way forward, and doors seemed to open where none had been before. In this place, those memories are no longer just thoughts. They are reflected in the path beneath her feet. Fear makes the ground tremble. Faith makes it solid. She breathes deeply, inhale, exhale, and watches as the mist draws back, revealing more of the trail. She takes another step, and another. Each movement becomes a meditation, a test of where she places her attention. The fog around her whispers with countless voices. Some are faint and fragile, like the echo of forgotten dreams. Others are sharp, demanding to be chosen, demanding to be seen. But she learns quickly. To chase one too desperately is to scatter the rest. To fear what might vanish is to watch the ground fall away. Only by walking with balance, with curiosity, instead of control, does the path continue to unfold. Ahead, she sees shifting images flicker in the haze, moments not yet written. A forest that may or may not exist. A figure who may or may not meet her. Each vision shimmers, half-born, waiting for the steady gaze that will give it shape. She whispers again, more firmly this time. The way is uncertain, but uncertainty itself is the way. And with those words, the fog parts further. The path glows brighter. Her fear loosens its grip, and Elena continues forward, learning the first great lesson of the quantum realm, that doubt can erase the road ahead. But faith can build it, step by step, out of the very mist of possibility. Elena walks deeper into the quantum fog. The mist rises and falls like a living ocean, curling and dissolving in endless shapes. It feels as though she is moving through a dream not yet chosen, a dream waiting for a witness. Her eyes catch a shimmer ahead, a faint outline suspended in the haze. At first, it is nothing more than a suggestion, a wavering sketch of lines and curves. But as she gazes with quiet attention, the form begins to clarify. Slowly, branches stretch outward. Leaves unfurl, trembling with light. Roots descend into soil that only now appears beneath her feet. The shape solidifies until a tree stands before her. Not just an image, not just a shadow, but a living, breathing tree, born from the mist because she chose to see it. She steps closer. The bark is textured, rough and ancient beneath her hand. A breeze stirs the branches, and a single drop of dew forms at the tip of a leaf. It falls into her palm, cool and perfect. Something that did not exist a moment ago, now real enough to touch. Her heart swells with wonder. She whispers, "So this is how reality is born. Possibility waiting for attention. Uncertainty waiting for presence." She thinks of the many moments in life that feel like this tree, moments that remained vague, unreal, until she finally turned toward them, a decision she delayed, a relationship she ignored, a path she avoided. The moment she truly looked, those possibilities solidified. They became her life. In this realm, the truth is unmistakable. The act of looking is the act of giving birth. She sits beneath the branches. The grass beneath her settles, growing greener, fuller, as though her resting there has summoned its being. Above, the leaves shimmer with hidden constellations, tiny reflections of the universe at large. She notices a second shape forming in the fog. This time, it is less clear. A hazy outline that flickers, a vision of something not yet ready to become. She stares for a moment, but it resists her gaze. It fades back into uncertainty. Elena understands. Not everything can be forced into existence. Attention is powerful, but it must be steady, gentle, and patient. To demand is to scatter. To invite is to allow. The tree before her becomes her teacher. It reminds her that the world does not emerge in a single glance. It blossoms gradually, responding to the quiet constancy of awareness. She closes her eyes once more. She listens to the silence around her, a silence alive with potential. And she knows, with a clarity deeper than thought, that what we see is not all there is, that reality is more fluid, more responsive than our ordinary senses reveal. She rises from beneath the tree. The path ahead glows faintly again, and the tree remains, rooted in the soil of possibility that has now become form. As she walks on, she whispers, "The world is a wave, until we choose to see it. And then, it becomes the world we live in." Elena moves forward through the shimmering fog. The path begins to widen, stretching into a great corridor. The mist pulls back, revealing a hall that seems to extend without end. On either side, doorways shimmer into being. They are not built of stone or wood, but of translucent light, arched and glowing, as though carved from frozen starlight. Each doorway leads into a different scene, a different version of what could be. Elena walks slowly, her steps echoing in the endless chamber. Behind one door, she glimpses a tranquil home, a life of warmth, laughter, the smell of bread, the sound of children playing in the garden. Behind another, she sees a quiet monastery, herself clothed in simple robes, living in silence, studying the mysteries of existence. Further along, another doorway flickers with the glow of machines. There, she is a scientist in another world, her name on books and discoveries, a pioneer of knowledge, but alone. She pauses at each door. She feels the weight of the choices. She realizes each one is not fantasy. Each one is real, a possibility, a life that could have unfolded, a life that still might. Her hand brushes the frame of one doorway. A flood of emotion rises within her, a mixture of longing and gratitude for the lives she did not live and for the one she walks now. The hall whispers with infinite voices. Each voice is a version of herself, calling gently from a path untaken. Some sound joyful, others sorrowful, but all are true. All belong. Tears well in her eyes, for she realizes that she is not only the woman who stands here in this moment of midnight seeking. She is also the echo of every choice she did not make. And yet she is more. She is the witness, the one who can behold them all. A calm strength fills her. She bows gently to the doors, as if honoring the lives within them. She does not step through, not yet, for she knows that to choose one is to leave another behind. And the lesson of this hall is not to choose too quickly, but to understand that life is vast, and that possibility is sacred. She whispers into the corridor, "I honor you, all the selves I could have been, and I thank you for reminding me that choice is power and presence is everything." The hall brightens softly, as though the universe itself acknowledges her reverence. The doors shimmer, then fade back into mist, leaving the path open once again. And Elena steps forward, knowing that within her lie countless reflections, countless destinies. And yet, only one step, this step, is hers to take now. Elena walks onward, leaving the fading hall of doorways behind. The mist gathers again, folding around her like a living veil. She senses a shift in the atmosphere, a subtle heaviness, a quiet resistance, as though the realm itself is testing her resolve. Ahead, in the dim haze, a shape begins to appear. It is not a tree, nor a path, nor a shimmering vision of another life. It is simpler, yet in its simplicity, strangely unsettling, a plaque, suspended in the air, etched in glowing brass letters. Upon it, one word: measurement. Beneath the plaque floats a simple sketch: 2 slits, a screen, and a small device beside them. The double-slit experiment reduced to its most basic form. Elena stares. Her heart stirs with unease. The hall of possibilities had been beautiful, filled with wonder and reverence. But here, the truth of physics confronts her directly. The plaque seems to whisper, "Do not confuse poetry with fact. Do not mistake metaphor for science." She recalls the voices of her teachers, their precise explanations. It is not consciousness that collapses the wave. It is measurement itself. A machine, lifeless and unknowing, is enough to alter the outcome. The presence of awareness, of thought or soul, is not required. And yet, Elena feels a quiet rebellion within her. For while physics may not require consciousness, life surely does. A detector may be enough to define the path of an electron. But what defines the path of a human life? What collapses our possibilities into reality? She imagines 2 scenes side by side. In one, she sits before a glowing screen, eyes clouded with worry, her thoughts scattered, her heart restless. The world around her blurs, fading into static, meaning dissolving into noise. In the other, she sits in the same chair, but her gaze is steady, her breath calm, her presence anchored in this moment. The words on the page settle. The world around her sharpens. Meaning emerges from the blur. 2 versions of the same life, 2 outcomes. And the difference was where she placed her attention. She whispers into the fog. In physics, a detector is enough to change the story. But in life, it is the quality of attention that shapes the world. The plaque before her glows softly, as if acknowledging her answer. The sketch of slits and screen fades, and in its place emerges a mirror. She steps closer. In the reflection, she sees herself, not as she is now, but as she could be when ruled by doubt. Her shoulders hunched, her eyes dim, the path ahead of her dissolving into uncertainty. Then, as she breathes more deeply, the reflection changes. Her posture straightens, her eyes glow with quiet clarity. The path behind her brightens, solid, clear, unfolding further into the mist. She realizes the mirror is not testing her knowledge. It is testing her presence. It is asking her to choose, again and again, between the fog of doubt and the light of attention. She bows her head gently. The mirror fades. The plaque disappears. The mist opens once more. And Elena walks forward, carrying with her the second great lesson of this realm, that in the laboratory of life, we are all detectors. And what we choose to measure with care or with fear determines the story the world will tell us in return. Elena walks further into the quantum mist. Her steps are steady now, the echoes of doubt still whispering behind her, but softened, weakened, like shadows that fade when touched by dawn. The air here feels different. Not heavy, not vast, but intimate, close, gentle, as though the universe itself has leaned in to speak directly to her. And then she sees it, a simple circle of light upon the ground. Within it rests no grand machine, no hall of possibilities, but something far more ordinary, a small cushion, a place to sit. She understands the invitation. Slowly, she lowers herself onto the seat. Her body stills. Her breath deepens. And for the first time since entering this strange realm, she simply pauses. At first, the pause feels strange. Her mind begins to wander. Back to the lab, back to the screens, back to unanswered questions. But the silence around her gently gathers those thoughts, as a mother gathers restless children until they grow quiet. She places her hand upon her chest. She feels her heartbeat. A rhythm older than thought, older than fear, older even than her name. Thump, thump, thump. Steady as the turning of planets, reliable as the rising of suns. And in that rhythm she begins to remember something. That attention need not always chase the extraordinary. That presence is not only for the mysteries of physics, but also for the simplest of things. The inhale, the exhale, the sensation of air moving in and out, the weight of her body resting on the ground, the quiet pulse of life, here, now. She opens her eyes. Around her, visions flicker in the mist. Everyday moments of life. A message waiting to be answered. A meal cooling on the table. The face of a loved one, half hidden in memory. Tasks, deadlines, doors, the ordinary rhythm of living. At first, they appear chaotic, like 1,000 voices calling at once. But as Elena watches with calm attention, something changes. Each vision slows. Each takes its place. The chaos becomes an order. The noise becomes a rhythm, like stars arranging themselves into constellations. She whispers, "Attention is how I honor life. Attention is how I place each moment where it belongs." The visions glow warmly in response. A message becomes simply a message. Not a burden, not a threat. A door becomes a door. Not a barrier, not a fear. A face becomes a face. Not a demand, but a presence, and she understands. To name something with care, to place it gently in awareness, is to free it from distortion. To see clearly is already to begin to love. The mist around her softens. She feels lighter. The thousands of fragments that once overwhelmed her now rest in harmony. She realizes that the practice of looking is not about grand discoveries. It is about this, returning, again and again, to the simple act of seeing what is here. Her voice, steady and calm, whispers into the silence. 1 breath to find the body. 1 breath to notice the mind. 1 breath to return. Again and again and again. The circle of light beneath her fades, but the lesson remains within her. She rises. To her feet. The path ahead glows softly, inviting her onward, and as she walks, she carries the third great lesson of this realm. That attention is not merely an act of science, nor a tool for unraveling mysteries. It is a practice of living. It is how the infinite becomes gentle, how the ordinary becomes sacred, how the unseen becomes seen. Elena continues her walk, the circle of light behind her, its quiet teaching still resonating in her chest. The mist shifts once again, opening into a vast canyon, its walls made not of stone, but of flowing strands of silver light. At first, it looks like rivers suspended in the air, countless streams of possibility, weaving, overlapping, never still. Each one carries a shimmer, a suggestion of form, as though entire futures are drifting along their current. Elena stands at the edge, watching in awe. She feels she is standing before the bloodstream of reality itself, where possibility courses, in all directions at once. She steps closer. The canyon trembles, as though responding to her presence. From the edge, she sees how the silver threads drift downward, merging, colliding, until they gather into a wide river below. There, the shimmering currents slow. The endless possibilities settle, condensing into more stable shapes: rocks, soil, trees, sky. The raw river of what could be becomes the familiar landscape of what is. She whispers. So this is decoherence, the moment the wave dissolves and the world commits to being itself. The river rushes on, its surface sparkling with fragments of choice. She sees an electron here, a molecule there, entangling with air, with dust, with sunlight, until they are no longer separate. Each interaction is like a decision made. Each choice is recorded in the fabric of reality. And as she watches, she realizes something profound. The process that gives birth to the world is not distant, not abstract. It is happening now, in every breath, in every touch, in every heartbeat. Every moment of life is the river of decoherence flowing into form. She kneels at the water's edge. For the first time, she reaches her hand into the current. It is warm, alive, like liquid light. The current wraps around her fingers, and in an instant visions flood her mind. She sees the steam curling from a morning cup of tea. She sees the dust dancing in a shaft of sunlight. She sees the laughter of children echoing in a street. She sees the quiet sadness in a stranger's eyes. Every detail, every moment is the river choosing, becoming. Her heart aches with tenderness, for she understands now that nothing is small. No moment is trivial. Each gesture, each glance, each breath is a condensation of infinity into this one fragile, luminous world. The river rushes louder, as if it knows she has heard its secret, and then, as suddenly as it began, the visions fade. The water drips from her fingers, glowing like starlight before dissolving into the air. Elena rises slowly, her body trembling not with fear, but with reverence. She speaks softly to herself. The world is not separate from possibility. It is possibility, made visible. To live is to walk each day beside this river of becoming. The canyon begins to close, its silver threads retreating into the mist. But the truth remains inside her. That reality is not solid stone. It is a river, alive, endlessly flowing. And she, like all of us, is not merely a bystander at its edge. She is part of its current. She is one of its streams. With that knowledge, she takes a step forward, ready for what the mist will reveal next. Elena walks on. The echoes of the river still linger in her heart. Its truth that every moment is the settling of possibility into form. As she moves deeper, the mist thins once again, revealing something new. Before her stretches a narrow bridge, suspended across an endless expanse of stars. The bridge is not made of stone or wood, but of light. Its surface glows faintly with words that appear and vanish, as though written by her very footsteps. She steps forward. At once letters form beneath her feet. She looks down and reads. Call, your mother. The words shine, then dissolve behind her as she moves on. Another step. Another phrase. Drink water. The glow fades as she passes. Another step. Apologize. Another. Begin Chapter 1. Each phrase is simple, ordinary, yet heavy with meaning. They are not commands. They are possibilities, intentions waiting to be lived. Elena pauses. The bridge hums, quietly beneath her feet. She realizes that these words are not random. They are drawn from the well of her own life, reflections of the choices she has made and the choices she has delayed. Each step forward is a reminder. Intent is everywhere, but it must be carried into action. She whispers to herself, intent. Without attention is only a wish. Attention without action is only a dream. But together, they become a bridge. She looks out across the span of light. Far ahead, the bridge glimmers toward a distant horizon. It stretches on, word by word, step by step. She remembers times when she had dreamed grand visions but never began. Ideas left unwritten, love left unspoken. Paths never walked because she waited for certainty. Those intentions without action faded like mist. And she remembers times when she had acted without thought, rushing, reacting, her attention scattered. Those actions without intent left her empty, like walking quickly across a bridge that led nowhere. Here, in this realm, she sees the balance clearly. Intent is the seed. Attention is the soil. Action is the water that allows the seed to grow. Together, they create reality. Together, they form the bridge that carries her forward. The mist on either side of the bridge stirs. She glances left. There she sees herself sitting at a desk, thinking endlessly about writing, but never putting pen to paper. The scene feels stagnant, heavy with unrealized potential. She glances right. There she sees herself writing one sentence, just one, and yet from that single sentence the vision expands, pages forming, chapters unfolding, a book alive with words. The right path glows brighter, more solid, because it is lived. Tears rise to her eyes, for the lesson is so simple and yet so easily forgotten. Start so small you cannot fail. A sip of water, a single kind word, one step, one sentence. Each act collapses a possibility into reality. Each act carries her further along the bridge. She continues walking. More words appear beneath her steps. Rest. Listen. Forgive. Create. Each one shines, then fades into the stars. And as she walks, she feels lighter. She feels guided. She feels a quiet certainty that the bridge of intent is infinite, stretching as far as she chooses to walk. Every step a choice. Every choice a creation. The horizon glows brighter now, welcoming her forward. And as she takes another steady breath, she whispers into the silence, "I will not wait for the perfect moment. I will not wait for the full plan. I will begin with one true step, and the bridge will carry me." The stars shimmer in answer as though the universe itself has heard her vow. And Elena continues onward, firm and steady, her footsteps glowing with each new intention brought into being. Elena steps off the luminous bridge. The glow fades behind her, each word dissolving into starlight, each intention absorbed into the silence. As the mist shifts, she finds herself once more in a space she knows well. The laboratory, the midnight room. The hum of machines returns, faint but steady, like the heartbeat of an old friend. For a moment she wonders, was it all a vision? Had she imagined the fog, the tree, the river, the bridge? And yet, as she looks around, the air feels different. Every surface glimmers faintly, as though it carries the memory of where she has been. Her eyes fall upon the screen of her experiment. It glows in the dim light, particles still striking, tiny sparks recording their journeys. And slowly, carefully, a pattern emerges. Bright, dark, bright, dark. The familiar rhythm of interference, the pattern she has seen 1,000 times before, but tonight it feels new. It feels alive. Each band of light is like the breath of the universe. Each stripe of shadow is like its pause. Together they are not just data. They are a pulse, a heartbeat, a reminder that even the smallest particles carry the mystery of observation. Elena leans closer, her eyes tracing the luminous lines. She recalls the lesson of physics, that this is not magic, not fantasy. It is the result of measurement, of interaction, of waves collapsing into certainty. No human mind is required, only the act of detection. And yet, as she gazes upon the glowing screen, she feels something deeper. She feels that she too is part of this experiment, that she too is a detector, a witness, and that her own attention, her own willingness to see, is what allows her life to take shape. She whispers softly, "Even electrons remember being watched. Even particles carry the trace of observation. And so do we. Our lives are the patterns that emerge from what we choose to see and what we choose to turn away from." The screen seems to breathe with her. Each strike of a particle echoes in her chest, like a drumbeat in the silence. She feels the room expand, as though the walls have dissolved once more. She is not just in a lab, she is in the very heart of the mystery. For a long while, she sits in silence. No words, no movement, only the steady arrival of particles painting their pattern across the screen. And in that stillness, she begins to feel gratitude. Gratitude for the simplicity of the experiment. Gratitude for the countless minds before her who wondered at this same pattern. Gratitude for the possibility that what she sees here is not only physics, but also a mirror for her own soul. The thought arises gently. Perhaps life itself is a screen. Perhaps every choice, every action, is like a particle striking its surface, leaving behind a trace, a band of light or darkness, a mark of what we chose to notice. Over time, those traces form a pattern, and when we look back, we see the interference of all our days. Not random, not meaningless, but a design, woven from the fabric of attention. Her eyes soften. Her breath deepens. She understands now that the experiment has never been separate from her. The screen remembers electrons, and her heart remembers moments. Both are records of observation. Both are proof that nothing seen is ever truly lost. A quiet smile touches her lips. The lab feels less like a place of cold instruments and more like a chapel, a sanctuary where science and spirit bow to one another. She whispers once more, "To watch without greed is devotion. To choose without fear is freedom. And to witness without clinging is love." The screen glows in silence, and Elena, still and steady, receives its lesson. For she knows now that observation is not an interruption, but a gift. Not a burden, but a blessing, and that to look carefully, to look with care, is to participate in the quiet miracle of creation. Elena rises slowly from her chair. Her eyes linger on the glowing screen one last time. The interference pattern continues its silent rhythm, as if to remind her that the mystery never ends, that reality is always unfolding, whether or not she is here to see it. She exhales gently and turns toward the door. The laboratory is quiet, but she feels the stillness is no longer emptiness. It is fullness, a fullness she now carries within. She pushes the door open, and for the first time this night she steps outside. A soft light greets her. It is no longer midnight. The edge of dawn is here. The horizon glows with the faintest blush of gold and rose. The stars, so bright a moment ago, are fading into the morning sky. The world is awakening. Elena stands at the threshold, her breath caught in her chest. For all her journeys through the fog of possibility, through trees born of attention, through rivers of becoming, through halls of unchosen lives, nothing feels as miraculous as this simple, ordinary morning. She steps into the street. The air is crisp, still cool with the memory of night. She hears the faint flutter of wings as birds begin their dawn chorus. A cyclist glides past in silence, their wheels whispering against the pavement. Somewhere, a bakery opens its doors, and the warm scent of bread drifts into the air. The ordinary has become extraordinary. She looks around with eyes that feel new. A spiderweb sparkles with dew, each droplet a tiny crystal catching the sun. She sees it not as an accident, but as a masterpiece of patience. A simple signal light blinks at the corner, its rhythm steady, like a heart guiding strangers safely across. She feels gratitude even for this, a small choreography of order amid chaos. And then she notices faces, a woman unlocking her shop, a man carrying newspapers under his arm, a child tugging at their parent's hand, pointing at the first rays of sun. Each face is a universe, each gesture a choice, each life a pattern of observation collapsing into reality. She whispers to herself, "The world does not need me to look in order to exist." And yet, when I look with care, the world blossoms differently. She walks slowly, her pace unhurried, her senses open. She feels the roughness of the stone beneath her hand as she brushes against a wall. She feels the sunlight warming her skin, a light she has felt 1,000 times, but never quite like this. Her mind recalls the tree she witnessed in the quantum fog, born from her gaze, made real through her attention. And now she sees that tree everywhere, every leaf trembling in the breeze, every flower blooming unnoticed by hurried feet, every passing moment solidifying into the real, because someone, somewhere, chose to see it. Tears gather in her eyes, not of sorrow, but of reverence, for she knows she has returned to the same world she left, and yet it is utterly transformed. Not because it has changed, but because she has. A child's laughter rings out in the distance, clear and free, and she feels her heart lift with it. The world, she realizes, is full of such laughter, full of such moments, and so often we pass them by, unseen, unheard. But now, Elena carries the lesson with her, that every ordinary instant is the collapse of infinite possibility into a gift, and that gift waits to be received through the simple act of looking. She pauses at the corner, turns her face toward the rising sun, and lets its warmth wash over her. The day has begun, but for her it is more than a new day. It is a new way of seeing. She whispers into the morning light, "Attention is how I love the world, and love is how the world becomes home." With that, she steps forward, walking into the dawn, each breath a prayer of gratitude, each glance a quiet act of creation. Elena walks deeper into the morning. The streets are still quiet, the sky slowly filling with light. Every detail feels alive, as if the whole world has been patiently waiting for her to notice. She breathes slowly, deeply, allowing the air to fill her lungs, to remind her she is part of this universe, woven into its fabric. And as she walks, the memory of the quantum realm still lingers, the fog of possibility, the river of becoming, the bridge of intent. Each vision remains with her, not as fantasy, but as teaching, and then, as the sunlight rises higher, she feels a new presence around her. The mist begins to shimmer once more, not as thick fog, but as a subtle glow, weaving into the world she knows. It blends with the city street, with the morning light, with the faces of strangers passing by. It is as though the boundary between the extraordinary and the ordinary has dissolved. Elena slows her steps. She realizes the journey is no longer hers alone. The story is shifting. The voice of the universe, the quiet oracle she has followed, now turns not toward her, but toward you. A whisper rises in the silence, gentle yet firm, and it speaks as if directly into the heart of the listener. You have walked with her through the mist. You have seen how possibility trembles before the gaze. You have watched trees grow from attention, bridges form from intent, rivers become worlds through the act of noticing. But now it is your turn to look. The voice pauses, leaving space, like an open door waiting for you to step through. Ask yourself, where is your attention now? What do you choose to see? What have you left unseen, drifting at the edge of your awareness, waiting to be called into form. Elena closes her eyes as if to echo this same invitation within her. She breathes deeply, and the whisper continues. Choose one breath before you answer. Choose one sip of water before you rush. Choose one kind word before you close the door. Choose one true sentence before the day ends. Each phrase lands gently, like pebbles dropped into still water, sending ripples outward, ripples that do not vanish but continue, touching shores unseen. The world around her brightens. The tree she once saw in the quantum fog now stands in a meadow before her, not as a vision, but as part of this morning earth. Its branches sway in the breeze, its leaves glowing with dew, a reminder that what once seemed distant is already here. She smiles softly, her eyes open, her heart steady. The lesson is no longer hers alone. It belongs to all who listen. She whispers to the tree, to the sky, to the unseen listener beyond, the veil of story. You are not separate from the universe. You are not a bystander in its unfolding. You are its participant. The reality you live is, in part, a reflection of how you choose to see. The words hang in the morning air, resonating like a quiet bell. Slowly, the meadow fades into light. The edges of form dissolve into brilliance. The story closes not with an ending, but with an opening, a space for you to step into, a reminder that the observer effect is not only about particles on a screen, it is about your life, your choices, your gaze. The final whisper returns, gentle, timeless, as though carried on the breath of the cosmos itself. Look with care, and let the world answer. The sound of silence follows, a silence vast and infinite, the kind that invites reflection, the kind that lingers long after the words are gone. And so the journey ends. Not in the lab, not in the fog, but here, in the beating of your heart, in the rising of your breath, in the act of noticing. This moment, this is your turn. This is your looking. This is your world.